Hey everyone, welcome back to Mighty Nighty Games. Today I am going to do another video for new players, this time using the Dwarves, specifically Thorgrim Grudgebearer. Out of the available Dwarf Lords, I really think he is definitely one of the more forgiving campaigns. All the Dwarves start in pretty hostile locations, they've got a lot of enemies around. For these three, it's mainly Skaven and Greenskins, a little bit of lizards, a bit of vampire counts, a little bit of Dark Elves and Tomb Kings over here for him, not so much on the Greenskins and Skaven for Grombrindle. And Malachi starts way up in the north, surrounded by Chaos, Wintertooth, Chaos Dwarves, Arbol the Undefeated. You've got Nurgle, Daniel the Demon Prince, Archeon to the north. These are very, very hostile start. Certainly my favourite campaign out of the 6 Dwarf Lords, but Thorgrim is a close second. And I really like the grind on Malachi. Plus he buffs war machines and gyrocopters and artillery, which I really like using. So just to quickly show you how I've got the campaign set up. I'll be playing it on legendary difficulty and very hard difficulty. Again, the only benefit to that for these videos is just to show you that if these strategies work on the hardest modes, then theoretically they should go even better on the easier modes. So, plus this is just how I play the game. It has been since Total War 1. I was a big fan of the tabletop game, and I found a lot of the tactics and strategies and stuff that worked on the tabletop actually do work quite well in the game. And Dwarves are the faction that I very first learned to play Warhammer Fantasy Battle with back in like 5th ed or 6th ed or something. So Dwarves I think are a really good faction for a new player because they are very, very tough. Even their basic troops are very, very tough. High melee defense, high morale, high armor generally. A lot of them, even their range units, carry shields. And it's just really, really hard to break a Dwarven line. The economy is extremely powerful, but does take a while to get going. So first of all, I'm just going to start upgrading my capital to tier 2 because I want to get gyrocopters ASAP, and I'm going to start building the gems building there just to bring in some extra income. Thorgrim himself is an absolute tank, and he has some really good benefits to hammerers. These units here, not those. Oh, sorry. Has some really good benefits to hammerers, which are an incredibly powerful unit anyway on the Dwarven roster, and then he makes them even better, and he gives them a ability called Guardian. So he in turn, as long as they're within a certain distance of him, he in turn will become tougher just by their presence on the battlefield. So yeah, really, really good combo, Thorgrim and the hammerers. Mostly what I'm going to show you though is how to use a gyrocopter army. The gyrocopter-based army came in with Dwarves in, I think it was 5.1 when Malachi was first added. The ability to gain gyrocopters at tier 2 is an enormous boost for Dwarves because they really struggled with mobility. The faction's got no cavalry, and they've got no monstrous units either. I guess you could argue that the Thunder Barges are now monstrous in a way, because they are really big units, but they're big dirigibles. Malachi McKyson gets access to his unique Thunder Barge, which is actually a summoned unit, so it doesn't matter if it gets wiped out. The Spirit of Grugny, and that's an incredibly powerful, like, super weapon, basically. He starts the campaign with a super weapon. Plus he has the 2 legendary heroes, Gortrek and Felix, already under his command. So Malachi's got a really, really powerful start in terms of the units that he's got, but as I noted before, extraordinarily hostile. So, really good thing to do with Dwarves. And I'm just for the sake of your time, just going a little bit faster than I normally would. So, but again, these videos are meant to be for new players rather than a look how great I am at playing. And so, you know, taking a few extra casualties here and there, making it a bit tougher for myself. Again, all it's really illustrating is that a lot of these tactics and a lot of these strategies and battle formations and stuff are just really, really effective. And even if you do screw something up, it doesn't matter. Dwarves can recover from stuff pretty quickly. Their casualty replenishment rate is very low to start with, but you can buff it. And as I said, even their basic troops are just so tough. Like if we have a look here, for example, you have a look at the basic stats on Orc Boys. Leadership, let's say, leadership 79, melee defense 28. Compare that to a Dwarf, leadership 75, but again, I do have the AI cheats turned all the way up. and but melee defense of 40. So if you're not playing with the AI cheats turned all the way up, you're not playing on very hard battle difficulty, the gulf between your Dwarven warriors and the basic Orc boy is going to be pretty hard for them to overcome. Now, in the 6.1 patch notes, this is just interesting to note, in the 6.1 patch notes, they said that they had changed the behavior of the AI so that if most of your army was hidden, the enemy would then go looking for you a bit more aggressively. But I'm not really seeing a lot of that here. Maybe a little bit now that I've inflicted some damage. So all I'm doing is just buzzing around with the gyrocopters and just harassing their range units, trying to look for good opportunities to drop their bombs. Without getting all of their infantry clumped up in one place, it's going to be hard to make super efficient use of the bombs on the gyro bomber in this particular match. But I don't really want them all coming at me in a big block, because we're only on the first turn, and I want to be able to be in good enough shape at the end of this battle to just jump in and take the first city. Pillars of Grugny? Yeah, Pillars of Grugny, I think it is. So I want to be able to fight 2 battles in this first turn. If you're not careful with dwarves, you can find yourself kind of running out of steam and having like a very, very slow campaign. And that's fine if that's how you want to play it. But one of the tips that I wanted to share with new players in today's video is when you're dealing, especially early game, when you're dealing with a faction that you know is going to be a threat to you. They're a legendary faction, they're nearby, their faction is ill-disposed towards your faction by default, so let's say in this case Greenskins, you got Skarsnik to the northwest, and you've got Gorbad Ironclaw pretty much immediately south, and then you've got Queek Headtaker even a bit further south than that. And then you've got a bunch of random Orc and Greenskin tribes just scattered throughout the areas in between those legendaries. They're all going to be a threat. Like, no matter which way I slice it, I'm going to have to deal with them at some point. And so rather than just shoring up my defenses and waiting for them, one of the tips that I wanted to share with you guys today is that the best defense in this game against a dangerous enemy really is a good offense. Just go straight for them. Just wipe them out before they have a chance to be a problem. And generally speaking, if you are an Order faction, so if you are Dwarves or regular uncorrupted humans, so the Empire, Cathay, Kislev, Bretonnia, or any Wood Elf or High Elf faction, and you start near something that is Chaos, Greenskin, or Skaven, you can pretty much bet your bottom dollar that they are going to come at you. And so your best way of dealing with it is just to get them before they get a chance. Just sink their ship while it's still in the harbour. So yeah, I can actually see a bit of a difference here. They are looking for me a little bit more effectively. Now, while the gyrocopter's over there doing stuff, I want to show you a very, very simple and very, very effective Dwarven formation, which is just called the Castle. And all you do is you use your infantry to form a wall, like so. You saw it before, and you'll see it when they resettle in a sec. You use your infantry to form a wall, protect your flanks, protect your rear, and then put your missile units, your quarreler units and stuff like that, things that can fire over your infantry line. You put them immediately behind them, and if you do happen to have any black powder weapons, so if you've got cannons or thunderers and stuff like that, you just leave little gaps in your castle walls and have them fire through there. So when we get some black powder stuff, I'll show you what I mean. But in the meantime, that's just a very, very basic castle formation. Now, I can even tidy this up a little bit by forming these into squares rather than long rectangles. The reason being is if they're in long rectangles like this, and then they have to pivot, they're going to clip through each other, and it's going to obscure them. This way, they can just sort of pivot nicely on the spot, and there's less chance of my own units obscuring them, and therefore less chance of my own units getting shot, and that's obviously not a good thing. We are in the trees. That'll block a lot of incoming missile fire. It'll also block some of our outgoing missile fire, but generally speaking, we're going to overmatch Greenskins in a shooting match anyway, so even if it reduces some of our outgoing damage, that's worth it to prevent incoming damage, because our outgoing damage should still be sufficient to inflict some real pain on them, whereas their incoming damage, with the trees blocking as well, is not going to be as good. Now, it can be really, really easy to lose track of stuff, particularly gyrocopters and flying units, heroes, stuff like that, if you're trying to do too much. And if you're new to this game and you're trying to get your head around micromanagement, the next kind of tip I want to share with you guys is to do a lot with a little. So as you can see, in this army, or in this battle rather, I'm only using one unit at the moment. And that's fine, because they're responding to my movements, and I am controlling the flow of the battle. We're, 6 minutes in already, and I have stopped them coming anywhere near my lines. I'm free to use up ammunition on the gyrocopter, and all I've got to watch out for is when their missile units, the two of them, are lining up for shots, and then I just quickly duck out of the way. Like so. And yeah, don't get trapped between them like that. Now, the other great thing about Thorgrim's army is that he starts with... It's kind of a quasi-legendary. Like, he's not immortal or anything, but he is pretty special. The engineer that he comes with already has 7 uses of the restock ability, which means that I've got the ability to restock the ammunition of a unit in my army 7 times. The only problem with restock is that you can't use it on the unit that's got the ability. So the engineer here, he can't use restock on himself. Say the little icon there's got the X near it. But he can use it on anything else with ranged weapons. So that's the gyrocopter, the quarrelers, anything I like. So the more I can mess them around and the more value I can get out of the gyrocopter's ammunition, the better. And this is what I'm talking about. So I can just pivot them really easily with the castle formation and just start blasting. I can just pivot that corner wall, bring the Lord over here to catch them as they come in. Now, Thorgrim, as I said, gives Hammer as the Guardian ability. This thing, where is it? Doobie-doobie-doo, there. So as long as a Lord or a hero is within 35 meters of these guys, they get extra physical resistance. So that stops melee attacks that aren't magical. It stops shooting attacks that aren't magical. Well, it doesn't stop them, but it reduces damage from shooting and melee attacks that are not magical. And certainly this early in the game, we're very unlikely to run into anything that's packing a lot of magical attacks, especially not on the Orc and Greenskin roster. Orc and Goblin roster. Greenskin roster. Sorry. I'm so used to calling them orcs and goblins that that phrase hasn't quite fallen out of my head. I haven't quite caught up with the new greenskin lingo, and so I end up saying orcs and greenskins as like a kind of portmanteau of the two, which is not really that helpful. Alright, so we've got some tough units coming in here. The Orc Biggins. They're going to be, apart from the War Boss, they're going to be about the biggest threat in this army to us. So as they come in, we're just going to start hosing them with our shooting attacks. We're going to bring this corner of the castle round, because now we know that we've reduced their troops enough that they're not going to have any spare forces to come and flank us. They don't have any cavalry, so we can start to reshuffle the castle a little bit just to cover the angles that are needed. And again, with the micromanagement, you can see I'm still not doing a whole lot. I'm shuffling around my melee units just kind of one at a time, and I'm just leaving them there to take the charge. Anything with a shield on it in the Dwarven roster, so Dwarven warriors, longbeards with shields and hand weapons. What else you got? Your Ironbreakers. Even most of their ranged units, so even their quarrelers, if we zoom in here real quick and have a look, even their quarrelers are packing shields, and you'll find that their thunderers, their handgun units, are also using shields. So they're incredibly tough. If they get into melee, they can just put away their ranged weapon and just start fighting, and they're still a dwarf at the end of the day. Whereas you'll find that with the Empire, with Cathay, Kislev... sorry, not Kislev. Kislev's a really bad example because they've all got hybrid units. But even their hybrid units, not a lot of them have shields. Certainly not their basic Kossars and stuff. Alright, so I'm going to send the Dwarf Warriors out to harass these two archer units, just because I don't want them sitting there and spraying our good units. But because the Dwarven Warriors have got shields on them, Orc and Goblin shooting is not going to do a hell of a lot to them. As long as they're shooting them in the front. If they were shooting them in the back, where their shields are not, then it's still going to dish out a fair bit of damage. But as long as my Dwarven Warriors are advancing and hitting them in the front, then their shooting's not going to do a whole lot to them. And either they're going to stand there and take the charge, as they have, and that's really not going to work out well for them, or they're going to run. And even though I won't be able to catch them because I'm a dwarf and I'm slow, that's okay, because as long as they're running away, they can't be turning around and shooting my army. Now, even though Thorgrim is a legendary Dwarf Lord, and he's really tough, because I've got the AI cheats turned all the way up to maximum, this war boss will give him some trouble at level 1 with no gear and no talents in my favour. So Dwarves are not the ideal faction for kiting. That's okay. I just need to run him around a little bit and stop him from really getting his hooks in until I can get some of my heavy melee units out here and just smash off whatever's left of his health. Now again, because that Orc war boss has got okay armor, the Quarrelers aren't doing a heap of damage to him. He's also a small unit. If he was on a mount, he would be a much bigger target and therefore easier to shoot. So I'm going to pull my elite melee back now because they've done their job. I'm going to pull these guys out because they've done their job. And Dwarves are just not going to have the speed to run anything down. So what I am going to do is I'm going to continue shooting there. And then as soon as restock's ready, I'm going to restock the gyro again. And then I'm going to use the gyro bomber to run down a few units here, just for the sake of getting extra loot money, extra experience, stuff like that. So there you go. Now, that first battle there obviously took quite a while. It won't take that long for you if you are not playing on the harder difficulties. The other reason that it took a while is because I was trying to demonstrate that whole idea of doing a lot with a little. So as you can see, I didn't have to micromanage many units. I basically only microed 5 units in total, 7 if you count, or 9 actually, if you count me sending a few units out to attack the archers. But all I had to do there was select the units that I wanted and then right click, and then just, that was it. Take them off guard mode so they chase down the enemy. So that little shield there denotes guard mode or not, if you're brand new to the game. If you've got guard mode on, your units will not chase an enemy unit that's fleeing. They'll just stand there. So that can be really useful for castling with the Dwarf army, because you don't necessarily want your little stumpy guys running out of formation to chase enemies that they can't catch and leaving big gaps in your line that other enemies can then charge into. So generally, unless you are specifically chasing down a particular unit, or you want a particular unit to really stick to a target in melee and not let them get away, generally guard mode is a pretty good one to have on for Dwarves. Especially with your ranged units like your Quarrelers and stuff, you do not want their target to start running away and have your Quarrelers try and move through your front line into the melee to try and get an angle to shoot on a fleeing enemy. That's not a good idea. It's better to just have them stay put, and shoot the next enemy rather than chase one down. Okay, so I didn't really take much damage on that. We lost 20 models. Thorgrim got a few scratches on the throne, but that's okay. They'll buff right out. So I'm going to take the money and the Oath Gold. So Oath Gold's a special Dwarven currency. When you reach 200 for the first time, you will unlock the Forge, and the Forge just allows you to, it allows you to recycle items that you don't need. So Dwarves don't have any casters the same way that other races have spellcasters. The Dwarven spellcasters take the form of runesmiths and rune lords. They don't have a Winds of Magic bar, so their magic is essentially infinite, but each of their abilities is on quite a long cooldown, and they do have a shared cooldown as well, so you can't just pop off, 5 different rune spells in a row. So rune magic's good, don't get me wrong, but it's not quite the same as other factions' magic. So if you were to get like an arcane item, like a forbidden rod or something, Dwarves can't equip that. So the Forge would allow you to recycle that for additional Oath Gold, and you get more Oath Gold based on whether it's a green to blue item. I think you can actually destroy purples as well. I don't know why you would. I guess maybe if you got a purple casting item somehow, but I don't believe there's any world drops for those. I believe all the purple casting items in this game, I believe, are unique to certain characters. Okay, so again, we're just going to build this little castle in the woods here. It's a really, really good tactic for Dwarves, the castle. You can also combine it with corner camping, which is when you snuggle up right hard against one corner of the map and thereby erase the ability for your enemies to flank you or get around in your rear. So again, I'll run this one in Vast mode just for the sake of your time. Definitely recommend fighting battles manually as Dwarves. Their replenishment rate is very, very slow to start the game with. to start off with, and their recruitment costs are quite high, and their recruitment cap is quite low. So, I mean, if you do happen to take some damage, you do happen to lose some troops, like, whatever, it's not a campaign-ending catastrophe, just be aware that it will cost you time and money, a bit more than the average faction, to replenish those losses. So anything you can do to keep your casualties down is a really, really good idea. So things like harassing like this, things like castling, things like hiding your army to start with, just so the enemy doesn't come zerging straight at you. Even if those AI changes are working as intended and they are looking for hidden armies more aggressively, it's still going to take them time to find you. And in that time, you can do stuff like this. Now, those gyro bombers can kill hundreds and hundreds of troops with their bombs. But again, it's kind of hard to pull that off efficiently in the first battle, or the first couple of battles, simply because there's not that many enemy troops. And they've got a lot of ground to cover, so as you can see, they're not blobbing up super duper tightly. You've got a couple of blobs over here, but like, yeah, not huge targets there. Really, the point of the gyro bombers in these first couple of games, first couple of battles rather, is just to harass, to run stuff down. If you do get in trouble and you happen to get an infantry block that charges your lines, you can use, so if you've got your unit selected, is a really good tip to learn for micromanagement, is the Alt slide, or Alt movement. So if you get your unit selected and you hold down Alt, and then you can hold down your left mouse button as well, and you can drag the unit around like this. So rather than just having to click them and hope they come out in the right place, like that, I can actually directly control them. While I'm holding Alt and left click, if I hold down Control as well and spin my mouse around, I can also change their facing. And you can do that with multiple units selected as well, which is how I moved the castle around in the last battle. So for example, I can do that, hold down Alt and Control, and then I can, holding down Control lets me pivot them, and then holding down Alt lets me slide them, and I can just right-click to cancel if I've done that by accident. But it lets you move a whole lot of troops really, really quickly and keep formations intact without having to lock your control groups, because locking control groups, I don't know if it's working as intended or if it's a bit buggy or maybe I'm just unlucky. But whatever the case, in my experience, locking control groups is not always a great idea, because they can end up doing some really weird pathfinding in an attempt to keep the formation that you've locked there in cohesion. Whereas if I'm moving them around with the Alt slide, like let's say I'm going to do this, and if I try to Alt slide them somewhere they can't go, I'll see the formation go all screwy, and then I can be like, oop, nope, that's a bad idea, don't do that, right click to cancel. Whereas if I just selected this whole thing, locked them into a control group, and then said go back there, they would end up doing their best to move in a way that kept the formation that I'd locked them to. Unfortunately, their best is an idiot, and they would end up in absolute shambles. Well, he shouldn't be chasing them, that's not a good thing. Okay, so I lost a gyro bomber there because I was busy yapping, but that's okay. That's not really a big deal. I'll just pull him back into the woods here so he doesn't take any more damage this game. And I will... Actually, he hasn't really used that much of his ammunition. He could probably just sit there and spray them. Okay, so they're coming in now, so I'm going to start using my castle to attack. So the hammerers are going to charge the Goblin Wolf Riders along with Thorgrim Grudgebearer. The Longbeard Great Weapons are going to come around here and hit these Goblin Spears in the flank. The Miners are going to move up in case they need to take a charge. Miners are sort of a flanking and distracting unit. I generally just use them as a bit of a meat shield, because Dwarves are kind of lacking in meat shield units. So like cheap units that you can just throw into infantry to catch, or infantry or cavalry just to catch something, or if you've really got no other options against something like an artillery army, or an army that's got artillery in it, sorry, you can always use a meat shield unit to just kind of stand out in the open and absorb a bunch of the enemy ammunition and just take a bunch of shots on the chin and basically just be a bullet shield. But yeah, individually, like anything in this army, probably not the archers, but anything else in this army would certainly beat the miners in combat in a straight fight. So I've used them here to charge in the flank. So, the gyro took a little bit of damage. As I said, I lost one model out of the 4, but that's not a deal breaker. That's okay. I'll just have to be a little more cautious with it in the next couple of games. But I shouldn't really need it too much on the next battle, and in the meantime we'll be able to heal over the end turn as well. So by the time we get into another serious fight, that will be back to full model count. Alrighty, so just harrying what we can. We can keep shooting units until they're out of range, but as I said, the speed on our units precludes us from being able to just chase them down. We don't have any cavalry, and we don't have any monstrous units. Because generally speaking, a lot of monstrous units are pretty quick. Like hydras and stuff like that, you know, they're big. They can cover a lot of distance with each step. So they tend to be fast enough, certainly, to run down fleeing infantry. Like some of Chaos's monsters and stuff, like Greater Demons and stuff like that, are just horrifyingly fast. Like Slaneshi Exalted Greater Demons, Keeper of Secrets. Wow. They go really, really quick. Cool. So we're just finishing off here up in the woods. Their morale is going to break soon. Thorgrim taking a bit of damage is fine, because he is an absolute damage sink. So, and I'd rather, because of the Dwarven replenishment rate, I'd rather be taking a little bit more damage on Thorgrim at the moment than the army. Because Thorgrim will keep healing, but the army is going to be expensive to replace troops on if I need to do that, and I don't want to do that. Cool, so we'll just let the gyro run some stuff down. I have learned how to pause the recording software that I use now, so I might just hit the pause button while I finish up with this, just to save time on the video. I will unpause it there. Nearly done. As you can see, the gyrocopters have run out of ammo, and rather than waste time flying back over and getting a restock from the engineer, I'm just sending them into melee to finish them up. Just to get as many kills as they can, run down as many troops as they can. Worth doing. Right. So that's the end of that one. So, end of the first turn, we have beaten the first army, and we have taken our first city. Well, we're about to take our first city. In your capital province, like your homeland, definitely, unless you're absolutely screaming for cash, which I can't imagine you would be, in the early turns of the game, generally a really good idea not to sack your own territory. If you want to hang on to it, sacking it might be, you get a little bit of short-term cash, but the public order penalty is going, or the control as it's called now, the control penalty is going to be massive. So the fallout to the stability of your province is definitely not worth the few hundred gold that you're going to get out of sacking cities that have only existed for one turn. It takes them a while to build up a good amount of money in there. Okay, so I want to get a second lord straight away, partly because I want someone to be doing recruitment for Thorgrim, and partly because I want another lord on the battlefield, just for tipping the balance of the battle in our favour. And thirdly, because I might need to do a bit of ambush baiting over here against Skarsnik. Ooh, Potion of Toughness, that's really handy on the first turn, wow. Cool. So that will let Thorgrim get a little bit of healing. He can pop that. It's like a diet potion of healing. I'm going to take Root Marcher because dwarves have very low movement range. Now, I could take increased mobility here, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go for Stalk and additional movement speed first. Him being able to stalk's really, really handy because it means that he can kind of case the gyro bomber around a battle and restock its ammunition without being seen by the enemy. So he can just be like a stealthy little guy that's going to help out my my gyrocopter. Again, when you're playing on the very, very hard modes and just in general, knowing stuff that is probably a little bit unsportsmanlike, like how to break the AI's, how to break the AI behavior in a really tough battle, so that they just kind of do what you want, is a really good trick to know. Some of the other stuff, like being able to jerk around AI factions with diplomacy, or as my dear friend and I call it, diplomancy, the ninth and greatest school of magic. The ability to make AI essentially your puppets by selling them territory and then letting that territory get taken out by a common enemy, and then taking the territory back and then selling it to them again and making them do other stuff and getting just tons of cash out of them. And you can be a real real estate mogul in this game if you so choose. Knowing how to exploit the AI in siege battles and stuff like that. They're good tricks to know. I don't use them all the time because I like sort of the grind of the game. But if I find myself in a really sticky situation, it's good to know what I can do to tip things in my favor, even if strictly speaking it's not exactly fair. Now, I don't use any mods or anything. I understand I know that there are mods for this game, and I know that one of them enables like console commands and stuff like that. I just don't use them. I've never seen the need for it personally. And in my extensive experience playing video games, I'm just not a huge fan of mods. I just like playing a base game. If I need to like use a bunch of third-party software, and like absolute credit to modders, some of the stuff that they do is absolutely phenomenal. And I have played mods with some games just because the mods look so good that it's not that it seems, you know, silly to pass up, particularly in things like Fallout and Skyrim. And some of the quality of life mods in that are really good as well. So full credit to modders, certainly no word against them. I just, you know, I find that I don't have a lot of time to play games anyway, and coming home, I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and I used to use UI mods for that, and I think that's really what put me off, because coming home and being like, I've only got a couple hours to play, let's get started, and then being like, oh, my mods are now out of date because there's been a hotfix for the game, and then I've got to spend 3 hours reinstalling stuff. Yeah, just not my bag. I don't have quite enough time in my life to do that, unfortunately. And yes, you may have noticed that I've had a haircut and a bit of a trim and stuff of the old beard. I very unexpectedly got a phone call the other day from a job that I'd applied to a while back, that I got, you know, thanks for your application, but not successful. And yeah, they called me back and they were like, actually, something else has come up. So yeah, be going back to my trade of choice, which if you know me, you know what it is, and if you don't know me, you probably don't care, so I won't bore you with it. So yeah, so I got all cleaned up for my, well, it wasn't really an interview, it was more like a, you know, just come and meet us type deal. Yeah, okay, so my jar is a little bit damaged, so I'm just going to have to be careful here, but what I'm going to try and do with it is just, nope, don't go that way. What I'm going to try and do is just inflict enough damage that they get annoyed enough that they come over to our Dwarven castle that I've built for them to have fun assailing. This should be a really good map and really good battle to show you what I mean by corner camping as well. I've already sent my castle over to the corner, and I'll have time to show you what that's all about once these guys do this and start moving. Great, I'm going to say the other 9 bombs on the gyrocopter, because I don't want it sitting over here getting shot by their cavalry, and their missile cav can fire while moving. That's what that icon there is, fire whilst moving, so that's how you can check enemy troops and see what they do. And when I mouse over them as well, you'll notice that they've got that big red circle around them. That shows me the range that they can shoot in. So they've got a 360-degree arc of fire, and they can fire while moving. So they're very, very dangerous to the gyros, even though their missile strength isn't that good. Enough sustained bad shooting will still bring them down. And a gyro bomber is not going to be replaceable for many, many, many turns yet. So definitely don't want that to get killed. Right, so while they're moseying on over here, and my gyrocopter is fleeing to safety at the back here, this is a corner camp castle. So as you can see, I'm hard up against the board edge in the corner here. Now, not every map will have a great corner for camping, but you can sort of do a castle on a board edge if you need to. So I could build this sort of here, let's say, even though that's terrible terrain with it sloping down, but just for the sake of the argument, I could do what I did in the last battle and just have them essentially form a castle at a board edge. So at least that stops them getting in behind me. Now, a greenskin army is going to have a hell of a bad time trying to penetrate a good Dwarven castle, especially early game. Now, there are some units that the greenskins have on their roster that are real line breakers, and you'll see some of them when we get up to fighting Skarsnik in a few turns. So things like Night Goblin units with Fanatics. Fanatics are these like mushroom-addled goblins that are attached to like a giant bomby knocker, you know, massive steel ball on a chain, and they just release them in a flurry. And if they're very short range, so that's your best bet for dealing with them, is just wait and either find out where the Fanatics are and ping them off with your gyrocopter before they get close, or run out and intercept them with a character, try and get the AI to drop the Fanatics on a character, because they won't do a lot of damage to a single target. But yeah, like having Fanatics dropped smack in your formation is really, really bad. So that's one way that greenskins can screw a line up pretty bad for you. Enough of their pump wagons, that'll do the trick. So they're a very high priority unit. They're basically like a dodgy made goblin chariot. They're like the old, Looney Tunes, like pump minecart thing. One person on each side, we've got to pump it to keep it moving. And then they're covered in spikes. So, going to shoot the war boss as he's coming in. Now, what I would normally like to do is I would like to have the gyro bomber out here causing mayhem, but I don't want it to get too damaged. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to bring the fight. Now, if I hold down the spacebar, it's another good trick to know. If I hold down the spacebar, it will highlight all the units on the battlefield. It will also show you arcs of fire. It will show you range, all that good stuff. So I'm just going to hold down the spacebar, and I'm going to make sure that I'm within, well within the gyrocopter's range. So I'm just going to pull the melee back so that it's in range of the gyrocopter. So then if these archers want to shoot the gyrocopter, they're going to have to either come close enough to get shot at by these, or charged by these, or shot back at by the gyro bomber. Sorry, stop saying gyrocopter. It is in fact a gyro bomber. Gyrocopters are recruitable at tier 2. If this was a gyrocopter, I probably wouldn't be being quite as cautious with it, because it's a much easier job to replace. Now, this is one of the rune wizards I was talking about. So as you can see, we've got no counter here for how much magic we've got. All we've got is these abilities. So they work the same as... they basically are just spells. Except they, as I said, they have a global cooldown. So when I use one... let me just get that happening. There we go. So when I use one, you can see the other one's unavailable now for a minute. And then once that minute's passed, I can use the other one. Alright, time to start charging. Now, the reason I'm charging, normally with a castle you just want to sit here, but orcs and goblins have got really, really low leadership generally. And we're right on a board edge. So if they break, they should just flee straight off the board and have absolutely no chance to rally. Now, that doesn't give us a lot of opportunity for running them down, which is unfortunate, but you can't always win them all. And as you can see, the greenskins come at you, even early game, they come at you with such overwhelming numbers that if you're not careful, they can and will just absolutely grind you down. So, I'm going to make sure I don't bomb my own units here. So just hold down the spacebar, make sure that there's only red below my gyro bombers, and I'm just going to absolutely nuke that melee into the dirt. Get all of these units just running clear off the board, and I'm going to save the last 4 bombs, and I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Meanwhile, I've got the Quarrelers focus firing individual units of archers just to try and take them down. We've got way fewer archer units than they have, so standing here and trying to spread out the damage isn't as efficient. It's better to just absolutely hose one off the board and then switch to the next one. Okay. Engineers needs a little bit of help, so let's get the Rune Lord in there. Pop down that spell there, because that'll increase their armor for a little bit there. Okay, gonna debuff this bloke. I'll wait on the Potion of Toughness, just until I'm sure that Thorgrim's not about to get any more dust-ups. He can start shooting that as it comes in. And he can flank charge that. Hey, excuse me, I asked you to charge over here. It looks like that unit's split between the 2 different blocks. That's why he's charged to an awkward spot. That's alright. Reform the line. Thorgrim charges again. Yep, just adjusting the line back a little bit so that the gyro bombers here don't spray my own units. Hammers are taking a little bit of damage there. Lost 20 models from that unit. That's not ideal, but for all that, they did hold back a whole ton of greenskins. Look at that, just blah. Alright. I would have liked to have killed that Lord, but we don't have a lot of shooting here. In terms of, like, just being able to sort of mass hose him. Which is really the best way to deal with greenskin war bosses. Alright. Send the gyro out to kill as many as it can. Put this on super fast mode. This won't take long because they're going to flee off the board, I think. Pretty quick. They seem to be moving toward that board edge. Oh, see if I can kill the Lord, actually. I was trying to run down the Lord, and then I'll just call it quits there. Yep, there we go. Cool, done. Good enough. That'll probably be a close victory because I used a lot of ammo, and we took quite a few casualties on the hammerers there, but whatever. They'll heal. Again, 93 losses compared to, what, 800 losses on their part. But yeah, took a little bit of damage on the characters, took a little bit of damage on some of the infantry models. But again, all good. I mean, you can micromanage battles down to the point where you take like 0 losses whatsoever. Some factions are more easily able to do it than others. But generally speaking, it's a huge investment of time. Like, it's not a waste of time. Like, definitely, if you could do every battle with 0 casualties, bonzo, go on. But by the same token, if you're like me and you've only got, X amount of time to play the game, you don't want every single battle to be taking, 45 minutes. So it's, a balancing act, as a lot of things in this game are. So I'm going to unlock his rune magic first. He got a potion of healing as well. Jeez, that's really lucky. I think I forgot to use the potion of toughness on him last turn. That's all right. I'll give him the charm shield instead because that's better than the dragon helm. Yes, it is. And then he can have the potion of toughness and the dragon helm. Great. That's really lucky. I usually don't get that many drops on dwarves this early on. So I'm going to take Stalk, and I'm going to take Increased Mobility. Normally, I would definitely go for Break Open the Casks, but because, what's his name? Thom Phillipson, because he's already got a bunch of restocks, that's not as urgent for him. Okay, now, that's all good. I'm going to demolish that from there, because it's already here. Now, commandment swapping is another good tip that I wanted to give you as a new player. It's really easy to just think that, like, you pick one of these and just stick with it forever. Nah, flip it over. Like, just change it as much as you need. Running out of money, switch it over to an increased income one. You need your cities to grow fast, switch it to a growth one. Just, swap them over as you need. It does take over the end turn to kick in the new one, so you do sort of need to think a turn ahead. But yeah, no, don't be afraid to flip them over. That was certainly a mistake that I played when a mistake I made, rather, when I first started playing this game, is that I kind of decided what the best commandment was that I liked the most, and then just, like, never changed it. And that really used to cause me some problems. Let me just think about what I want here for a sec. I want to get not Grudgebearers. I want to get, yeah, that'll do. I want to get gyrocopters ASAP. So I've just got to be a little bit careful of not spending too much money, because the Dwarven economy is very, very slow to get started. It's very, very powerful, but it is quite slow to get started. All right, so diplomatic relations with the Dwarves, then I'm going to go growth, and then I'm going to go construction cost for settlements. I started to tell you about Oath Gold before. So you can break down items that you don't need for Oath Gold, and then you can use Oath Gold to make other items. And some of them, just like the greys and the greens, just require Oath Gold. I think like the greys are 30 and the greens are 60 or something like that. Blues and purples will require you to have access to certain resources based on certain trade resources based on what you want to craft. So, like, for example, to craft the tankard that gives regeneration, you need to have dwarven beer. Now, obviously, you can produce that for yourself, so that's not really an issue. But some of the resources are pretty far away, and so you won't necessarily have them under your own command, but that's okay, because for the purposes of crafting stuff in the forge, you can have access to those tradable commodities through trade. So if you're getting those commodities from another faction that you're trading with, that counts for the purposes of making stuff in the forge. The other stuff that Oath Gold does is it helps with the construction of the deeps, which is the beneficial cities that you can build under Dwarven cities. That's that there, the deeps, and this unlocks a whole other building chain. It's crazy. I wonder if I can show you from here, actually. No, I don't think I can. I think I've actually got to have the deeps installed. But yeah, it unlocks a whole other building chain, and you can bunch of building chains, and you can build stuff under your cities that are beneficial to you. So you can gain crazy good economic, diplomatic bonuses, trade bonuses. You can build defenses that make your cities pretty well impregnable. You can build one that, if your city's being taken by an enemy force, like if it does manage to, if your city falls, it will just blow up rather than let them capture it. You can seal your holds. Yeah, you can do all sorts of crazy stuff with the deeps, and Oath Gold helps with that. And the other thing that you need Oath Gold for is to access some of the higher tiers, or some of the tiers of research, not even necessarily higher. Like if you have a look here, for example, rat poison is available like as soon as I've researched that, so 6 turns away. But I'll need 250 Oath Gold, and at the moment I've got 20. Which is why I am going to build, rather than when I start to install economy buildings, rather than installing these ones, which they do give slightly more gold, and they do reduce construction costs, which is good for dwarves because their buildings cost heaps. But I prefer this one because it gives Oath Gold. It just gives passive Oath Gold. And you can never, ever, ever have enough Oath Gold. So, what I'm going to do here... Now, we don't have any enemies at this point, which is not an ideal circumstance. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to build growth there. I'm just going to build some money straight off the bat, because I'm going to start running out if I'm not careful. I'm going to recruit 2 of these miners here, and I'm going to straight up declare war on Snickage. Not Snickage, sorry, Skarsnik. Yep. Because if I don't have an enemy at the end of this turn, the odds are that someone else will come along and declare war on me. And I don't want that. And just to shore up the numbers a little bit more, I'm going to try and open diplomatic relations with, Karl Franz by joining his war against the Beastman herd that he's at war with. The Beastman herd's ages away. The odds of them coming over here and attacking us are very, very low. And it's not going to happen. I've never seen it happen, and I usually do stuff like that. So that's one of your sort of diplomancy, the 9th law of magic. Spells is join wars with people that you want to be friends with. Like, click on them in the diplomacy, figure out who they're at war with, and offer to join their war against someone. Not someone that's right on your doorstep and super powerful. It's a very bad idea. Offer to join war against someone really far away that's going to come nowhere near, and see if you can scab some money or a treaty of some sort out of them. Cool, so this has worked out really, really well. This has worked out exactly as I wanted. Skarsnik has walked down and just walked straight into our ambush. I didn't talk about it, but you saw how I set it up. So just, one lord recruiting, the other lord in ambush stance, and just wait for him to roll on in. Now, it can be a little bit tricky with Skarsnik because he can always lightning strike. So he can cut off your reinforcements right from level 1. That's just an ability that he has. So if this had broken my ambush, he would have been able to attack Thorgrim just by himself. Now, that wouldn't have been a catastrophe, because I reckon Thorgrim's army's tough enough to probably take this just by itself, even in a pitched battle, not an ambush. But the other way around wouldn't have worked. If he had cut off, if I'd put Thorgrim behind the other bloke, the single rune lord who's recruiting, if I'd put Thorgrim behind him and Skarsnik had popped the ambush and moved in to attack that single lord, he would have gotten absolutely creamed. Or I would have had to have either conceded the battle or run away, and then I'm already starting to unlock negative defeat traits on one of my lords. Now, he's only a low-level lord, so I could always just, if that did happen, I could always just dismiss him and recruit another one, and, problem solved. But, I'm trying to be as efficient as possible because I'm playing on the harder modes. And so, I don't want to be just, throwing away stuff if I don't have to. So, going to use the castle formation again. This time, I don't want to come out here to the corner because I don't want them to be able to see me. I want them to have to go looking for me. So, I'm going to hide right back here. I'm going to put Thorgrim and the engineer. Yep, there we go. I'm going to stick the engineer a little bit further away because I want him to be able to run out and restock the gyro bomber. Now that he's got stalk, so if I stick him right out in the open here, you can see he's still hidden. So they'd have to get quite close to him to be able to actually pop that stalk. I'm going to move my reinforcement slider around to the back here so that the Rune Lord just pops out by right behind the rest of my army. You don't have to worry about him potentially popping out on that board edge over there when they've got troops in the vicinity, and I've got no way of supporting him without breaking my castle, or just having to leave him by himself, which is not a good thing to do. So, orcs and goblins, greenskins, even someone tough like another legendary faction. Huge weakness of any faction that's got low leadership, as a general rule, is to attack their lords and heroes first. So I'm just going to deploy right here. I'm going to leave him on guard mode because I don't want him getting crazy ideas about chasing anyone down. I want to be able to control his movements. I'm going to turn him off fire at will because Skarsnik's got this thing that he can do where he can just like disappear for a little bit. Like I can't remember what it's actually called, but it basically works like a smoke bomb. Like he just disappears for a little bit. And when that happens, I don't want the gyrocopter to start turning around and blazing at some random target. There you go, disappeared. Smoke bomb. So I don't want the gyro to decide for itself what it wants to shoot. I want to use this opportunity to remaneuver it. And I want to start wailing on the goblin archers as soon as I can. Now, you'll notice that the big spider here has got an ammo bar, as do the... What are they doing? Okay, they are definitely not looking for my troops. They appear to be following my gyrocopter. Okay, that is really strange. You can see that the Arachnox Spider and the Snotling Pump Wagons have got ammo bars, but they've got like a special ranged attack. They can only attack stuff that's on the ground. They can't fire into the air. So the only 2 units in this army that can actually do any damage to us whatsoever are the 2 Goblin Archer units that are down here. And as soon as I can, I'm going to get the gyro to bomb the Hades out of them. Now, this is not how I intended to fight this battle. What I intended to do was to use the gyrocopter to snipe off Skarsnik and slide Demiser, his hero, and then goad the rest of the army over into the woods and then just deal with them. But the AI seems to be pretty content on running around in a giant blob behind my gyro bomber and just copping ridiculous bombing runs. So, given that the AI feels like being really stupid, I am going to exploit the Hades out of it. And, hey, this is, you know, part of the game. If an opportunity like this presents itself, it's really good to know how to exploit it, because this should let me come out of this battle pretty well unscathed. Like, under ideal circumstances, with them acting like this, if I can keep the engineer hidden and get enough restocks on the gyro bomber could solo this whole army. Like, it could break this completely by itself and run them off the field. Wouldn't even have to use the rest of the army, apart from the engineer's restocks, obviously. So if I can play my cards right here, I can literally kill this whole army with 1 unit of gyro bombers. And, yeah, so far so good. So now 1 unit of Goblin Archers is broken. The other unit of Goblin Archers is wavering, and they've been severely damaged. They're down to 6, so they're nearly down to half model count. Their leadership's balked, and they're stuck in a massive blob where they are not going to be able to shoot me very effectively. Looks like something is shooting me still. I don't know what that is. What's that? Oh, they've got a 3rd unit of archers. Oh, okay, I didn't see that. I thought they only had 2 units. There we go. Okay, that makes sense. That's fine. I hope those Night Goblin Archers don't have fanatics. Oh, that'd be bad. Goblin Archers, Night Goblin Archers. No, they don't have fanatics. Okay, good. Phew! I'll see if I can find a unit that does have fanatics, so I can show you what the icon I was looking for looks like, so you can check for yourself if things have fanatics. As a dwarf army, if your enemy's going to have fanatics, it's a really, really, really good idea to know where they are and not let them run up and unleash fanatics straight into your defensive line, because that will absolutely ruin your day. Alright, so I'm just going to try and get as many... Hang on, are they in were they in force march? Okay, so this is an ambush battle. This has only just occurred to me. So as you can see, with the ambush battle, I got to deploy in like really weird places. I got to deploy all around them if I wanted to. Usually in an ambush battle, there will be a zone up one end of the map that's got like a yellow flag in it, or I think it's yellow. It's got a flag in it, and the enemy can run to that point and then withdraw their unit, so you can run away from an ambush. But in this case, that doesn't seem to be there. So I'm not sure if they came in forced march stance with the intention of bringing in another army as the attacker to back it up, or if this is just kind of a bit buggy. But if it is a bit buggy, it's definitely a bit buggy in my favour. That might be why they're insisting on following the gyro bomber around, because they can't flee from the battle. Huh, that's really interesting. Oh, Rune Lord came in. Cool. So I'll just pop him in another control group. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly swap these control groups around, because I want the 3 characters together, 1, 2, and 3. And I want the gyro number 4 out here scouting all by himself. Alright, that unit of Goblin Archers is shattered. That means they are not coming back. That's what that little skull icon means. So they cannot rally now in this battle. So I'm going to hook around here. into the woods. Just try and block some of these incoming missile shots from those archers. Now, those goblin archers are yonks away, and they are pretty badly damaged. So, this unit is giving me the annoyances because they're following me around, and that's going to make it hard. I mean, they're all following me around, but those are fast. That's going to make it hard to split off and get the gyro to go and visit the engineer for some extra ammo. So let's really jerk them around. Flying units can pass over impassable terrain like this, whereas obviously they can't. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to chill back here for a sec. War machines still do take fatigue, so if I hold down spacebar, you can see the little legs icon there is orange, not green. So that means that they are not now fighting at full capacity. And as per my Scarbrand campaign that I'm just playing on my own time, I'm trait shopping with Scarbrand. I'm using cultists to build cults all around the world, and literally just teleporting to the hero, to the lords whose legendary defeat traits I want, and then just bonking them on the head. And I'm just trying to see how indestructible I can make Scarbrand. Just for giggles, just for my own personal amusement. When I get it down to kind of optimal routing and figure out the best way to do it, I'll make a video about it. But at the moment, it's still a work in progress. Just trying to get all of the traits that I want without getting a whole bunch of other useless traits that I don't want. If you don't know, there is a maximum amount of traits that you can have on a given character in this game. I believe it's 40 that you can get in total. And the first time I tried that on Scarbrand, I had no idea that that was a thing, and I only discovered it when I was like, hey, why can't I get... I think it was Marcus Wolfheart that I was trying to get. And I was like, I beat him in battle 3 times. Like, why haven't I gotten his trait? It must be bugged. And then I started looking it up to see if anyone else had encountered the bug, and then I realized it actually wasn't a bug at all. I was just stupid. And I'd accidentally trait capped Scarbrand. So, yeah. Can you guys, like, literally just drop dead already? Now, meanwhile, while they're taking care of that, let me see if I can find a night... Okay, so that unit there, Night Goblins, that is what I was looking for. The spinning loons. That means that they've got fanatics in their unit. So they are a dangerous, dangerous unit of Night Goblins, and I don't much like them at all. Woo! Alright, let's go. I'm going to run these guys off the board. Try and shatter them, or if I can't shatter them, I will escort them to the board edge. Enemy units can't rally if they have got a... hang on a sec, just going to pause the recording for 2 secs. Cool, sorry, back in. Just had to deal with something real lifey. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, I'm either going to try and shatter these units just by blasting them, or I'm just going to follow them to the board edge, because enemy units cannot rally if there are units cannot rally if there's any enemy units within a certain distance of them, and flyers count for that as well, which is another reason that flying units are incredibly powerful in this game. Because even if you've got a damaged flying unit that you don't want to have engage in combat, you can still use them to fly over the heads of the enemy and escort enemy units that are fleeing off the battlefield. They can either be charging them in the back and dishing out damage that way, or they can be just flying over them, like not getting engaged at all, and just blasting the Hades out of them. Alright, so there's nothing left in this army that can harm our gyrocopters. Now, as I said, this was not my intention to play this battle like this, but given that the opportunity has presented itself to demonstrate how much you can do with very, very few units... Why is he going out there, please? To demonstrate how much you can do with very, very few units, yeah, it's a good opportunity for that. Now, they can see that Rune Lord, and they're still not going for him, because I think they perceive that the gyrocopter is their biggest threat, and they don't want to let it get away. So they're hoping, I think, that I'm going to, like, land the gyro or something when I run out of ammo. They don't seem to be aware of the fact that I've got a stalking hero that is replenishing the ammunition, which is really cool. So, now, the quickest way to get rid of the rest of these guys is going to be to just shoot Skarsnik to death. And once he's gone, their leadership will take a massive, massive dive. He'll keep popping his smoke thing when he can, that's right. As you can see, we're actually hitting him. We're laying the damage on him. Alright, out of ammo again, so let's kite these guys. I have a few theories, as I've covered, onto why these guys are just following the gyrocopters around like the Pied Piper. Not Not sure I could recreate this. This is just kind of lucky. And if you're playing this game and you're new to it, and something like this happens, absolutely take advantage of it. But yeah, as I said at the start of the video, it's very unsportsperson-like, but who cares? You're actually not playing against other people. You're playing against a computer, and the computer will absolutely cheat its face off, especially on the harder modes. Like, there's literally a slider for how much the AI cheats. So, yeah. Run away again. Run away again. No, not you. Come on. Oops, a daisy. Sorry, just clicked off the screen. Okay, back on the screen again. Stupid bloody fingers not doing what I want them to. Alright, let me come this way. That engineer is awful close to being discovered there because I clicked off the screen, but that's okay. They haven't sprung him yet. So I should still be okay, I think. Yep, the engineer's still hidden. Just kite them back up this way again. Yep, there we go. Yeah, this is weird. I have not seen them just, like, follow around a single gyro unit like this before. That's really quite strange. Man, that spider looks definitely big enough to just, like, reach up and smack those gyrocopters. But apparently it can't do that. For which I am eternally thankful. Yep, there you go. Sakarsnik's dead. Easy. Let's get rid of... As you can see, their leadership's taking a hit here. Oh, no, 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 no. Okay, ran out of ammo there, and just as I clicked shoot, and they tried to melee charge. Yeah, nah, don't want that happening. Thank you very much. Okay. Rinse and repeat. Now, at this point, I could absolutely just draw them over and finish crushing them. But I'm kind of having fun just jerking them around like this. Oh, there goes the unit card button again. God, I wish there was a way to disable that. Because I'm an absolute spoon, and I will click on that 900 times a campaign. Alright. Like to get rid of some of these fast units of theirs, because that would make it a bit easier to... Oh, I know why I keep doing that. Swap them back now. Yeah, okay, there we go. Because they're working in a team. Yeah, I'd like to be able to get rid of these fast units, because it means I would have to be a little bit less cautious with the engineer. Now, the reason I've got the engineer facing the wrong way is because I don't want him to reveal himself by firing at will. And even if I turn him off fire at will, sometimes they will still just do whatever they like and, like, fire off a random shot. It's the same with anything that's... anything that can fire while moving. If you turn it off fire at will and then tell it to charge something, and it can fire, like, it will fire anyway. Which can be pretty annoying. Alright, did not expect this ambush to take 35 minutes to finish. Well, it's probably going to take more like 45 minutes by the time I'm done. But, if you can pull something like this off, if something like this happens to you, my god, the investiture of time that you make will be absolutely worth it in your campaign, because this is just going to set me up so well. And I should have time to do quite a bit of this campaign, because there shouldn't be another patch due for probably a week or so at this point. And yeah, I don't start my new job for a month, so I've got plenty of time to make content. And yeah, I do apologise for not having dropped the video a little in like a week. I do intend to sort of keep up to my schedule of doing 2 or 3 per week. But as I said earlier, this random job interview... Well, this random job offer just came up, and I had to all of a sudden go into like overdrive, getting documents and stuff. Like, you had to get copies of stuff and get things certified and all this sort of stuff, so that I can actually start on time for this gig. So that was why I had not posted a video in about a week. A, because of the hotfix, and then the afternoon after the hotfix, when I was about to sit down and do some content that afternoon, that was the day that the call came through for the job offer. And so, like, from that afternoon for the intervening week, I've just been absolutely flat chat getting stuff sorted. But all sorted now. So back to making content. Now, we're going to have to fight this army again, unless they are in forced march stance, which I don't know if they're in forced march stance. So I'm just going to hedge my bets and make sure I kill off their really dangerous units, like the Arachnox Spider, because that will absolutely demolish us if it gets into us. Not so much now that it's like nearly dead, but if it had charged into our lines on full health, that would not have been good. How many restocks have I got left? 2. Cool. Alright, so I am, as I said, I could definitely just draw them in now and polish them off, but I am absolutely enjoying the hell out of this. Stuff like this doesn't come up very often, especially on Dwarves. Dwarves are probably one of the least, one of the factions that you can pull like the least amount of shady tricks on. Affectionately referred, I think, thanks to a YouTuber, Legend of Total War. If you don't know him, you should definitely go and check him out. He's very, very good at this game. And the community around him affectionately refers to those sorts of tactics as being a bit cheesy. Back when I was playing the tabletop hobby, it was beardy, but the lingo comes and goes. Yeah. Also, if you haven't checked him out, check out another YouTuber called Prometheus. I don't know if he's done anything since. Oh, yeah, actually, I have to check on where he's at. I haven't seen him put up any new stuff for a while, but he's also a really good player of this game. And they're, yeah, two YouTubers that I just know of off the top of my head that do a lot of good stuff. And there's some really good lore channels out there as well that you can check out. I'm not really sure what I'm going for in terms of kind of overall feel for the channel. I just yeah, had some people in my life sort of say, hey, I think you'd be pretty good at this, give it a go. And yeah, and even more so than that, the kind of message was, I think that people in my life thought that I'd really enjoy it. And yeah, as it turns out, they were right. Because I think I needed a new hobby that was a little bit more creative. And yeah, being able to, even though I'm using somebody else's game to create stuff, at least I'm still creating. So yeah, really enjoyed it. Been missing that a lot in my life lately. So I hope that these are useful to someone. I don't even know how many people are watching. I could just be sitting here talking to myself. But hey, that's okay. I'm enjoying it. If you do have any feedback, if you are watching, hey, there we go. Broke the army. So yeah, definitely didn't intend that battle to take 51 minutes. But as you can see, I think the end result was damn well worth it. Even though our army got no kills, apart from the gyro bomber, they also took absolutely 0 damage. So everything is going to be in really good shape. And we've just defeated one of our most dangerous early game enemies in Skarsnik. So that is really, really good. And the gyro bomber, oh, come on, surely 1,000 kills for the gyro bomber. Come on. Give me 1,000 kills. Oh, come on. How bad can you possibly in melee? Just like drive into them with the rotors going, seriously. Yeah, there we go. Alright, victory. Woo. Pats on the back. Well done, Mighty. Mighty. Just go with 90, I reckon. Mighty sounds a bit up myself. I'll just go with 90. Yep, well done, 90. Bloody heroic victory. Doesn't actually get me anything at all, except I can give myself a pat on the head now. Well done. Yeah. But yeah, so as big tip that I wanted to demonstrate, and that really gave me an opportunity to do so, is you can do a lot with a little in this game. It's really good for learning how to do micromanagement, being able to learn how to get the most out of every unit. It's really, really good practice in terms of paying attention to everything that's going on in the battlefield. So I had to pay attention to ammo count, I had to pay attention to where the gyro was, I had to pay attention to where the engineer was, I had to pay attention to where their archers were. I had to watch for Skarsnik using his smoke bomb thing, so I wasn't wasting ammo just blindly firing into snow. And yeah, as you can see, the AI completely derped out on that one. It just lost the plot. Just didn't know what it was doing. Just walked around in circles, following a unit they couldn't hit. Don't know why they did it, but hey, if the opportunities present themselves, you may as well capitalize. Because if this was an actual war that you were involved in, and your actual troops found an army that was just going to walk around in circles, blow a unit that could drop bombs on them, why wouldn't you do that? Preservation of your own troops, hell yeah, let's go. As you can see, this army's pretty much back to full health, and yeah, Skarsnik's, he must have been in forced march because his army just got eliminated. So what I reckon he was going to do is he was going to march in here, and then attack with this other army, and then he was going to be sitting here nice and fresh and take my city next turn. But that has blown up square in his face. He just walked headfirst into an ambush, and yeah, How embarrassing. Imagine being Skarsnik, like the goblin that's renowned for being sneaky and ambushy, and walking into a dwarven ambush, led by a guy sitting on a throne, held up by 4 other dwarves, no less. Like, that's just embarrassing. Okay, so, decisive victory there on the auto roll. Yep, so that was Skarsnik's defeat trait there, so now we've got an extra 20% ambush success chance, and an extra 20% ambush defense chance. So that's going to be really useful for fighting the Skaven later on. That defense chance there will reduce the likelihood of them just being able to walk up and ambush us out in the open with their stalk stance, I think. No, it's stalk stance. Maybe it is stalk stance. Can't remember what it's called. Alright, so that building there is going to give me access to gyrocopters, so I'm going to build that absolutely, because I want them ASAP. Because the gyrocopter stack is just ridiculously powerful early game. There's not a lot of enemies that can deal with it particularly well, and what I wanted to show you how to get a really strong start as dwarves, and then you can just sort of decide for yourself. Now, because that last battle took so long and I came out of it in such good shape, it's going to undo some of my good work, but just for the sake of your time, I'm just going to auto roll that. Yep, that's perfectly acceptable. And I'm just going to occupy that because I want to take this province and I don't want public order problems popping up left, right, and centre. Sorry, control problems. I'm going to drop them into his army. This guy is basically, after this point, he will essentially fall back here and just keep an eye on things. And then as soon as the gyrocopters are ready to recruit, he can start recruiting them. And then Thorgrim, once he's finished with dealing with Skarsnik up in the north here, as he's passing back through this territory, he can then pick up the gyrocopters on the way. And it just saves Thorgrim having to stop off and spend a few turns recruiting. Okay, don't want to build anything there because I'm getting pretty low on treasury, and I just want to save the treasury for the, 3 turns until I can build the copters, sorry. Alright, so this video has kind of already clocked in a bit over an hour. So what I might do is I might leave it at the top of this turn, and then we will pick up with the next few turns in the next video. I'm going to try and keep them to about an hour for now, just for new players, just so they're a little bit more digestible. When you see me just do like a play for myself, which I am going to do this week, hopefully, you'll find that they will be very, very, very much longer. They'll probably be at least sort of 3 or 4 hours long. But I just want to make it nice and digestible for a new player. Okay, so there you go. So it's top of the turn 5. Our main legendary lord is already level 7, which is really, really good. We've gotten some really powerful, we've gotten some really strong wins out of that. Our hero is level 6. Our secondary lord is level 3. We've got a fully healed, apart from the miners, so they're only missing 1 model, so who cares? And what we'll do is we're just going to wait till the gyrocopters build and then start recruiting them with this guy. The turn before the gyrocopter building finishes, so that's next turn, I will switch this commandment over to that one to enable me to recruit an extra gyrocopter each turn and to get them all a little bit cheaper, beg your pardon. So yeah, I'll leave it at the top of this turn. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that this has been helpful to someone. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please feel free to leave any comments down below. Feel free to leave a like or a dislike, or any constructive criticism that you might have, any feedback that you have about what you'd like me to cover. And yeah, feel free to hit the subscribe if you'd like to. It's always a good way of sort of seeing if I'm doing the right thing or not, in terms of what people want to see. Look, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video. Cheers, guys. Take care.